Not all of you may remember it, but the lion symbol is back on British eggs after an absence of 30 years.
Eggs make a meal out of anything.
Mum, what are you making?
Veggie egg pittas.
The slogan we brought eggs back with was fast food and good for you, which really covered the two key messages we wanted to communicate, that eggs were a good, quick, convenient meal, but also they're very, very good for you in every sense.
Correct. Lion quality eggs are only laid by British hens vaccinated against salmonella and a date stamped for freshness. Eggs, fast food and good for you. Always look for the Lion.
They bought in clean stock, vaccinated them against salmonella, and they stay clean. And the net result is that you're now probably safer eating an egg than at any time in British history.
We are about to make the ultimate egg dish. I can't think of any dish that sums up eggs better than a souffle. If eggs were going to write their own PR brochure, they'd stick souffles on the front cover. Absolutely, no doubt. What we're going to do is we're going to make the base of the souffle. It really happens in two parts, the whisked egg whites, which happens later, and initially, this sort of protein-rich base. And what that protein does is give the whole structure stability. It's what's going to hold the whole thing up and turn it from being just a puff of egg whites into being a real sweet. So we're just whisking up some eggs and some sugar here. In the pan here, I've got some milk boiling, a little bit of butter and some vanilla. I'm going to add some flour to these eggs here, and I'm going to whisk that in. Right, pour that in. There we go. And now we're just going to whisk this back to the boil. Right, we're going to add to this now some egg yolks, some raw egg yolks. We're just going to pour those into there, adding more protein to the mix. And this is what I would call a neutral base. It needs the flavour, it needs the egg whites, and once it's been through the oven, it's going to be the best dessert you've ever made in your life. I'm going to do rum and banana. It's one of my favourite flavours for souffle. I think bananas are one of the few fruits that cook up and taste almost as good as they do raw. Mix that in. Just going to add some rum to that as well. There we are. I'm going to mix that in, and then that is ready for the egg whites. So we're just going to add those to the mixer, and we're going to whisk them up. And what's happening when you whisk air into the egg whites is that the proteins start to unwind and tangle with each other to form a sort of net. The air bubbles are trapped in the net to make a foam. The sugar then coats the protein net and makes it even stronger. And it's at this point that the souffle really starts to come together. And this one, we're just going to fold carefully in, just by bringing the spatula around the edge of the bowl and folding it back into the middle. So you can load these up into ramekins, and you can leave them, and then 20 minutes later go back and cook them, and they should come out absolutely fine. I'd really like to meet the person who stumbled across the idea of souffles, because what an invention. We're going to go and stick this in the oven. Lovely. What's really important is if you cook them too hard and fast, so too hot a temperature, you're going to burn the outside before the inside has a chance to hold the whole structure up. The souffles rise in the oven because when they're heated, the air bubbles trapped in the net of proteins and sugars expand. At the same time, the net hardens, and that stops the bubbles from shrinking. There you go. Right, these have got to go straight to the table. The tiny air bubbles in the souffles will start to contract as they go cold, and that means if you leave them too long, they'll sink. And those are pretty special to me. The world scoffs down about 2.3 billion eggs every single day, but many of those eggs are hidden away in products most of us don't associate with eggs at all.
The main use is in cake production. Then in egg custards, meringues, muffins, pasta, pies, mayonnaise, desserts, and of course quiche production, which is a large user.
If you're a big food manufacturer using millions of eggs a day, or even a chef like me using hundreds, it's a real pain to have to break all those eggs yourself. So I have to let you into a little secret. Technology has come to our rescue, and in fact, we buy many of our eggs pre-broken and pre-packaged.
We buy eggs in large quantities We then put them onto automated breaking machines, where we either produce whole egg or we in fact separate. And we separate the egg into the yolk part and the albumin. With our two machines at this factory, we're processing 24 eggs every second.
Not only does that make things easier for food manufacturers, it's also more hygienic because the eggs are pasteurised, a process which kills bacteria.
And pasteurisation is the heat treatment step which makes the product safe and extends the shelf life. We take whole egg up to 65 degrees centigrade, and then we hold it at that temperature for a minimum of 2.5 minutes.
That's just time enough to kill the bacteria, but to make sure the eggs aren't cooked in the process, they're kept moving constantly.
We then chill it down to 2 degrees, and then it moves to packing.
For the larger food producers, pasteurised eggs are packed into huge boxes holding 1,000 litres of egg. But for the smaller customers, there are 1 litre cartons available. But so far, these are not really in demand for domestic use.
I think at the moment it's clear that consumers love using shell eggs. Although I think in future, as we all get to eat more and more prepared food, these products may be seen.
But for those who'll never give up cracking their own eggs, home egg production has taken a futuristic turn with a brand new hen coop for the 21st century.
What you've got is a revolutionary new chicken house made out of plastic, as it means that it can be cleaned out, looks good for a start, and doesn't rot. It comes in a number of parts. You've got the house, you've got the run, which we kind of treat as a holding pen, and you can let them run out around your garden, and then they'll come back in at night by themselves. The egg loo is completely fox-proof. It's got an anti-tunnelling plate around the outside, and that stops the fox digging in against the wall, and it doesn't think of stepping back and then digging in, so we've completely outwitted the fox. We sell most egg loos to people who live on the outskirts of towns and cities, and they're generally small families with children.
When they first arrived, I was thinking, oh my goodness, more responsibility. But they're extremely easy to look after, and they're just like having little pets around. They're great. We've had 2 a day, usually, since we've had them now, and they make the most fantastic poached eggs. They're perfectly formed, and the egg doesn't explode when you put them into the water. The reason for everything, we don't buy any eggs anymore.
There's one more little thing that you need to know. This is eggy bread. Just going to put some brioche into this little mixture, and all that is eggs, milk and sugar. Going to add some clarified butter to the pan, and then this goes into the pan. There we go. I'm just going to pan fry this. The brioche has soaked up all that goodness, all the sugar and the milk and the egg, and then when you pan fry, you get this beautiful brown coating on it. Takes a minute or 2 to cook at most. Pain perdu, they call this in France, lost bread, and I presume they mean lost in all that rich goodness of the eggs and the milk. Oh, it's the sort of thing when you eat it, you can't help laughing. Bit of a shake around. When I make it at home, I have to lock the kids in their bedroom while I eat it. Otherwise, you know, there's none left. Right, onto the plate. But you've got to have something to cut through all that richness. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some fresh fruit to that. A few mixed berries over the top. Just gives it a bit of a healthy twist. You can eat more. But never, ever serve anything without having tried it first. That's my motto. And that, oh, that's amazing. Eggy bread, you've got to try that. There we go, guys. For a free set of recipe cards, which includes today's rum and banana souffle, and details of all Open University programmes, call 0870 900 0314 or go to open2.net, where you'll find all the recipes from this series.